Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hariharaya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha, Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha, Gopal Govinda Rama Srimad Sudana Gopal Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Hari Guru Jai Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Hare Ram Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Nisai Gauranga bolo Nisai Gauranga Nisai Gauranga bolo Nisai Gauranga Nisai Gauranga Nitai 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 Gauranga Nitai Nitai Gauranga Nitai 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 Gauranga Nitai 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 Gauranga Jai Sachinandana Jai Sachinandana Nandana Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Patita Pavana Gaura Hari Patita Pavana Gaura Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Jaya Jaganath Jaya Jaganath Jai Jaganath Swami Jaya Jaganath Jai Jaganath Jaya Baladeva Jai Subhadra Jai Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jai Baladeva Jai Baladeva Jai Subhadra Jaganath Swami Nayana Padagami Nayana Padagami Bhavatu me Jaganath Swami Nayana Padagami Nayana Padagami Jaya Jaganath Jaya Jaganath Jai Jaganath Swami Jaya Jaganath Jai Jaya Baladeva Jai Subhadra Jai Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jai Baladeva Jai Subhadra Jaganath Swami Nayana Padagami Nayana Padagami Bhavatu me Jaganath Swami Nayana Bhavatu Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Sham Sundar Radhe Jaya Radha Sham Sundar Radha Sham Sundar Shri Radhe Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranita Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Premanande
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paurikacharya Asata Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paurikacharya Asata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki Namacharya Shil Haridas Thakur ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki, Prem Shri Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda ki, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi ki, Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki, Ganga Mai ki, Jamuna Mai ki, Vrindavan Dhami ki, Mayapur Dhami ki, Jaganath-The ki, Transcendental Book Distribution ki, Hari Nam Sankirtan ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
That's okay. It's difficult with him. Shri Narsimha, Jai Narsimha, Jai Jai Narsimha, Shri Narsimha, Jai Narsimha. Jai Narasimha, Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Narasimhaya, Praladadayini, Praladadayini, Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha, Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha, Shilatankanakalaye, Shilatankanakalaye, Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha, Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha, Yato Yato Yamitato Narsimha, Yato Yato Yamitato Narsimha, Bahi Narsimha Hrudaye Narsimha, Bahi Narsimha Hrudaye Narsimha, Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapadye, Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapadye, Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapadye, तव कर कमलवरेणकम् अद्भुत शृङ्गालिता हिरण्यकशिपो तनुभृङ्गा केशवद्रिता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे कर कमलवरेणकम् अद्भुत शृङ्गालिता हिरण्यकशिपो तनुभृङ्गा केशवद्रिता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव 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 जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज भक्ति विघ्न विनाशन श्री नरसिंह भगवान की भक्त श्रेष्ठ श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की गौर प्रेमानंदे
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Thank you very much for coming to this Sunday Feast program. Can everybody move forward? Now we are going to have a discourse on teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Please all come forward. Please all come forward. Children can go on the other side for the Sunday school. If your cell phones are on, switch it off. We are very fortunate today to have amongst us His Grace Anuttama Prabhu. He is our GBC of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, overseeing Washington, DC, Philadelphia, Delaware, even in the Midwest, many places. He is also the ISKCON Communications Director. Last 4 days, he had been giving leadership training here, right at our center. And he'll be giving today's Sunday Feast class. So let's welcome him with a loud Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Also we have His Grace Kratu Prabhu, initiating spiritual master, also disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So let's also welcome him with a loud Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hare Krishna.
This is hard for him. Let's say this one.
Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, trade. I have a question, a favor to ask. Can we make a dividing line right here, and this is the men's side, and then this is the ladies' side, and the ladies can also move forward if you'd like to? Sometimes if cultures vary, but it's a fact, we're in America, and if women even have the perception that they're supposed to sit in the back, it's going to be an additional unauthorized challenge in their devotional service that they'd have to overcome. And the purpose of our movement is to remove obstacles, not to make obstacles. Yeah? Okay. Any of you that travel around ISKCON temples, sometimes you swear the microphone travels with you. Because wherever you go, the microphone has the same problems. That's right. Okay. Is this a special, how do you, no air is coming. I got this is pulled, this is pulled, this is pulled.
I think it should be.
You have to be in.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of every, wow. New Jersey is a very special place. Everywhere else in the entire world, you pull the knobs, right? Kratu Prabhu? Yes. So here you push them in. They're very special. Not only that, it plays without pumping too. Look at that. It's very special. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballava Girvarirari Gopi Jana Ballava Girvarirari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanajari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privrajagacharya Astu Tarasata Sri Sriman. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Shyama Sundar Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Shri Shri Guru and Garanga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Vistaya today. Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deva Garbhani Charani Namaste Shisham Pastatai. Hare Krishna. So as mentioned, I had the good fortune of being able to visit this lovely temple and community for the last few days. I was teaching a course on leadership and management, and sharing some things that actually been taught in different parts of ISKCON for quite a few years, based on a course that was designed by a group of senior devotees that actually came together in St. Louis, Missouri some years ago. Leaders from India, from North America, from Europe, and then some devotees who were educators, designed some training. How can we improve our management of our temples? And grateful for the local temple here for hosting us. They still have the screen down on the big wall where we were showing some different slides and things like that. And hopefully you'll talk with some of the local devotees if you'd like to learn a little bit more about it. And also hopefully you'll see some of the things implemented over the next few weeks or few months that devotees were inspired by. Talk about things all the way from listening skills, which is something we all can use. Usually, particularly men, we need more help with listening skills. Ladies can also improve, but men particularly, it's not our strength. We spent some time with public speaking skills. We talked about strategic planning, and we talked about team building, how to build teams and how to empower devotees, how to work together more cooperatively and things like that. So, again, appreciate the temple facilitating that. And actually, doing these types of things is very much in line with Srila Prabhupada wanted for ISKCON. Sometimes there's a tendency we think, we build temples so we can come and we can have darshan, and maybe we offer some prayers. Dear Lord, please help me graduate from college with flying colors. Or, dear Lord, please let me get the promotion at the company. Sometimes we may even pray, dear Lord, please don't let him or her get the promotion at the company. But, at least we approach Krishna, so that's good, even if our intentions weren't so pure. Take a little prasad, give a donation, go home. But actually, the purposes of these temples and the purpose of our movement, the ISKCON Society, Prabhupada said he had 7 purposes, right? If you haven't read those, I'd advise you look those up online. You can find them. The 7 purposes of ISKCON. And the first one, Prabhupada wrote in the initial incorporation of the original ISKCON temple in New York City, he wrote, the purpose is to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large. That's the first phrase of it, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large. And then he talks about educating people in spiritual techniques. And then he ends that first one by saying, thus promoting real unity and peace in the world. So sometimes people say, what's the purpose of this temple? What's the purpose of ISKCON? What's the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement? The actual purpose is to promote peace and unity in the world, which Prabhupada explains further in his later purposes, that we do so by propagating knowledge of Krishna and by promoting the Sankirtan movement, which is a technique for purifying our hearts. And he talks then later about erecting holy places and bringing the society and the members together. Why bring the members together? Because we're here to help each other on the path of devotional service. And he talks about promoting a simpler, more natural way of life, that hopefully we're all in each other's association. We're able to be a little resistant to the constant bombardment around us you need to buy this, you need to go here, you need to go there, and those pressures there, you have to measure yourself against the pressures of modern society. I read an article recently that you might find interesting. You can find it online. It was a magazine called The Week, and it was about loneliness in modern society. I don't have it. Sometimes I've given some classes, I had it in front of me, so I have to paraphrase a little bit. I may not get the statistics exactly right. But according to this article, they quote the former Surgeon General of the United States, who was an Indian person of Indian origin, can't remember his name. But he says in this one quote in the article, if you were to ask me, what's the greatest, like, he doesn't use the word disease, but some other word for that, the greatest disease, ailment that's afflicting people in America, it's not heart disease, it's not cancer, it's loneliness. It's a Surgeon General, it's a quote in this big magazine. It's like a Time magazine type of thing. And then the magazine goes on to explain about how one of the things in our age of social media, how it's actually the most antisocial thing that's come along in years. And that the net effect of social media is people becoming more and more isolated, especially young people, and becoming very, very lonely. And it's like a lot of people, you've got like, maybe you might have 5,000 friends on social media, but not one person you can talk to. That's like one of the effects. So people becoming more and more lonely. And then they talked in this article that some huge percentage of people, they did some quotes from some research in England and the United States and then Japan. And one of the, I think it was in Japan, they said there was some crazy number, I apologize I don't have it, it was something like 20% of the people surveyed, asked them what's your closest companion, was either a pet or the television set. And then it was some percentage, like, again, I think it was Japan, something like 8 or 10% of the people don't even leave their homes except maybe once every 2 or 3 months. And they talked about how young people in particular, and if you're young, maybe you feel the pressure of this, and the rest of us, we kind of look at it and think, wow, that's really, could be hurtful. They talk about especially young people. You see it sometimes, you see like young people kind of walking on the street in a group, and of course they're all looking at their smart devices. They're not talking to each other. They're talking to their friend on the other side of town who's talking to her while they're talking to like that. And then they come in front of something like kind of like artistic or interesting, so then they stop, right? And they all pose. Okay? And then they take a selfie. And then they send it to the world. Look how happy we are. And then they go walking on the street. Right? This is like social scientists and psychiatrists are studying this. The effect of this has happened is a huge pressure, especially young people, and there's increased depression. Because they're looking, you flip through your Facebook or whatever, depending on how old you are. If you're really old, you still use Facebook. If you're younger, use other things. And you're just seeing all these pictures of everybody you know having a fantastic time someplace, because they're all stopping taking selfies. And they're looking at your selfie thinking, wow, you look happy, how come I'm not happy? And you're looking at their selfie thinking, wow, look at all the cool friends they have. Why don't I have friends like that? And the net result is, according to the Surgeon General of the United States, one of the greatest pathologies in the country today is loneliness. It's loneliness. So it's having a very, very negative effect upon people. So therefore, Prabhupada asked us, not therefore, but way before that, seeing the effects of modern society, understanding the loss of spiritual knowledge and spiritual identity, Prabhupada came across the ocean at the age, landed here at the age of 70, established ISKCON. It's grown, so many temples, so many communities, for the purpose, not that we just come and offer a couple of prayers and go home, for the purpose of an instrument, a tool to systematically spread spiritual knowledge to society at large. And so this training that we're doing is a part of that. So Prabhupada wanted such kind of training. He wanted to build communities built around that. And he also wanted to, as part of that training, help us establishing processes and systems. I mean, he wrote the nectar of devotion, right? The science of bhakti, right? The science. Prabhupada used that term a lot, the science of bhakti. It's a process of awakening our knowledge and our love for Krishna. So I was noticing last night I went to the Tuakul temple just for a short time, and they were having their end-of-year youth presentation for the teachers. I didn't catch all of it, unfortunately, but part of what I saw, some of the older young people were discussing how they had looked at certain qualities that are presented in the Shastra as being good qualities for us to develop, and they made it their goal to work on that for the year. It's like one of the young people, like they were working on determination, and they were talking about, I think the example they gave was the demigods when they were trying to pursue the nectar and the churning of the ocean of milk and all the troubles they went through, and how they just had to be determined to get through that whole thing. And of course, Krishna intervened. He incarnated as much just to help them. He came back as Mohini Murti just to help them. So Krishna helped them out, but they had to be determined. So one of the young women was explaining that's the goal that she made for herself. And another one talked about humility. I really feel that I needed to work, and I'm continuing to work on this quality of humility. And it just reminded me that this is also part of our process. Again, it's not just we come to the temple and we do a little worship, but we're supposed to be working on ourselves. You know, and we know that the nature of our minds in this age, the nature of our minds is, and Braj Bihari Prabhu, who teaches conflict resolution, he talks about one of the nature of the human psychology is when we interact with people, we can easily measure my intention, isn't it? If you say something to someone, you know he had a good intention behind it. And if he or she took it bad, you can't really tell that. You can't measure the impact, but you know the intention. And generally, we're very forgiving with ourselves about what my intention was. Okay, I was a little rough with her or him, or I was a little harsh or this or that, but my intention was good. Why are they upset? See? And then on the other hand, somebody says something or does something to us that's a little not so thoughtful. Okay, we only know the impact, but what do we tend to do? We assume we know the intention. She knew if she said that to me, it would upset me. He knew I was supposed to do the artik. He showed up 5 minutes early to intentionally, But all we know is he showed up 5 minutes early. Maybe he showed up 5 minutes early because the last 3 times he showed up 10 minutes late, and the temple authorities tell him, stop doing that, you have to come on time. But we assume he came early because he had some intention. Sometimes we think like that. But what we really know is my intention. I don't understand the impact on others, but I should try to understand the impact on others and be careful of what I do. And we shouldn't prejudge and assume we know the intention of others. We can't know that. If anything, as devotees, we should give them the benefit of the doubt and assume their intention was good. And if the impact was a little difficult on me, okay, that's Krishna's arrangement. It's an opportunity for me to be a little more tolerant and to learn from that. So as individuals, as Vaishnavas and practitioners of bhakti or practicing yogis, right? Yoga is very popular in the world today. We're also practicing yogis. We practice bhakti yoga. A lot of people are measuring every week, how much they can stretch or how much more durable their bodies are becoming or flexible their bodies becoming. We should be studying. It's also good if our bodies are becoming stronger. But more importantly, we should be studying if our consciousness is becoming more flexible, if our awareness of Krishna is becoming more focused, if our ability to tolerate things is doing better. Like these 2 young women, how am I doing with my determination? Or how am I doing with my humility? They chosen those 2 things. And in the Gita, Prabhupada says the same thing. There's several places in the Gita where Krishna lists qualities of saintly people. And one of those purports, Prabhupada specifically says, we should measure ourselves according to this list. So we should look at these things and see how we're doing according to that list. Again, not that it's okay. Like we know there's some spiritual traditions that have a tendency to say, once you're in, you're done. Isn't it? We all know there's folks out there, and sometimes they approach you and they say, are you sure you're okay? Because if you're with my guy, you're okay, and that's all you have to do. You know, sometimes you see bumper stickers that says, you know, such and such a group is not perfect, we're just forgiven. See? And the Vaishnav take on that was, we're never going to be forgiven. Excuse me, we're totally wrong. We're never going to be perfect, but we should try to please God, knowing that He's always forgiving us. But because He's forgiving us, should inspire us to try even harder to please Him. I heard a beautiful description that I guess millions of everybody in ISKCON heard this, but me before. I had never heard it. Satchidananda Swami at a japa retreat recently was talking about the beautiful pastime with Krishna when Mother Yashoda tried to bind him with the rope. Popular story. 2 inches too short. She gets more rope. 2 inches too short. Doesn't work. Finally, Krishna lets her tie him up. But Maharaj was explaining, according to some of our Vaishnava acharyas, they explained that the rope, the 2 inches, has deep significance. I'd never heard this before. It's beautiful. That 1 inch represents our endeavor. So we have to make the endeavor to make that connection, to close the gap. What's the other inch or rope represent? Krishna's mercy. Both have to be there. It's actually a very, very deep theological concept. You know, people have been arguing for thousands of years. Is it based on faith? Do you get out of material? Is it by faith? Is it by your own endeavor? Of course, which reflects on a lot of other things. Is God personal and not personal? But for Vaishnavas, God is personal. And it's not just we wait for His mercy. We pray for His mercy. We depend upon His mercy. And we go on trying. And why are we waiting for His mercy? Because very deep philosophical, theological understanding, Vaishnava tradition, we at some point in time said, thank you very much, Krishna. Nice place you have here, Vaikuntha. Vrindavan's really beautiful. There's only one problem. You're in the middle. Everybody seems to be paying a lot of attention to you. Is there some place maybe I could go and give a try being God for a while? And the Lord says, yeah. Poof. And we're in the material world. Rabindranath Prabhu, one of our senior philosophers in ISKCON, he coined this phrase, God project. Everybody in the material world, we have our little God project. We're trying to be God. It's my house, it's my wife or my husband, my kids, my job, my plaques on the wall. You know, I got second place in 5th grade, runner-up in the debate club. There was only 2 kids there, but I did win a trophy. And it's on my wall until the day I die, because I did it, right? Etc. So we all have our little God projects. But, the Shastra explains that that's not actually the best thing we can do for ourselves. We're meant to reawaken our connection with Krishna. So in order to do that, we need to be that other half of the rope, of the other inch. Krishna's helping us. He's trying to help us, but we also have to endeavor. So when we come to the temple, we also have to endeavor. Right? It's described. One has to serve Krishna with utsaha, right? With enthusiasm, determination, confidence. We have to make that endeavor. So one of the things is we have to look at ourselves, measure ourselves, see how we're doing. As we talked about in this leadership course, we should have assessment, not to make ourselves feel, oh gosh, I'm really doing poorly, or wow, this is really tough. I mean, sometimes like you read stories about pure devotees and you think, okay, that's not me. I don't think I can ever do that. And our mind may even say, sometimes our mind may even say, let's just give up. It's not possible. But that's not the reason we look at these things and measure ourselves. The reason is because we want to see how we can improve. And we know if we make a little endeavor to improve, Krishna will help us. That's the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He actually wants to help us. He enjoys helping us. His relationship with us is helping us. But He helps us when we kind of show Him we need help. Right? We have to kind of show Him. And folks that are kind of floating around in the more material consciousness, He's not directly manifesting for them. Why? Because He doesn't like them? Why? Is it just because they're all sinful rascals? Why? We're sinful rascals too, right? We have a material body. We've got independent desires, etc. Why is He maybe helping some folks more than others? Because they're asking for help, right? Because they're making an endeavor. So in that spirit, I wanted to read, there's a one verse that's really wonderful and I think eye-opening. We read a little bit of this during the course. Little bit of a beautiful purport. This is chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge. Very important chapter. Text 11. Avajananti mamudha manusim tanamashvitaha param bhava majananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Krishna says, fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So it's a relatively long purport. It's 1, 2, 3, almost 4 pages. In the first couple paragraphs, Prabhupada kind of focuses directly on the theme here, where he says, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although appearing like a human being, is not a common man. The personality of Godhead who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation cannot be a human being. Yet there are many foolish people who consider Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing more. So he makes that point in the purport, elaborates on that we shouldn't misunderstand who Krishna is. But then later, he goes on a little different tangent, following in the footsteps of Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and others in his commentaries. Listen to this, in this terms of, how am I doing? Where can I do better in my spiritual life? And he says, Jiva Goswami, commenting here, says that Krishna, in his plenary expansion as Paramatma, is situated in the moving and non-moving entities as the Supersoul. Right? That's our philosophy. God's in everybody's heart. The Christians talk about that too. God's in everybody's heart. So what does that mean practically? Prabhupada says, so any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archamurti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect other living entities, is uselessly worshiping the form of the Lord in the temple. It's a powerful purport, isn't it? Now, if you think about it, and there's more, I'll read a little more in a minute or two, but if you think about it in our temples, I mean, we've got this big, beautiful temple room. Why? So the Lord is in the center. And every day, Radha Shyama Sundar and Gaurnitai and Jaganath, when he gets healthy again, they get dressed beautifully on the altar every day. And there's like 6, sometimes 7 artiks, and 6, sometimes 7 offerings of food. And there's pujaris. I think Madhupati Prabhu told me there's like 5 pujaris every single morning dressing the deities. And we've got a whole elaborate system of when the curtains open and what kind of music you play at certain times of day. And garlands. There's usually ladies in the back of the temple, making garlands for the deity. It's pretty elaborate, isn't it? In our Vaishnava tradition, we spend a lot of time taking care of the deities, isn't it? Okay, so then, again, Prabhupada quotes Jiva Goswami, who says, any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the form of the Lord in the temple and does not respect other living entities is uselessly worshiping the form of the Lord in the temple. So basically, anybody take a bus here today? Raise your hand who took the bus. Not one person. Okay. Raise a hand if you ever see your neighbors when you go in or out of the house. Raise your hand. You ever see your neighbors? A few of us. Okay. Raise your hands higher. Okay. Raise your hands if there's people in the office where you work. Anybody have other people in the office where you work? Raise your hand if there's any people who are subordinate to you in the office, like receptionists or security guards or janitors. Anybody have a janitor? Raise your hand if you have a janitor in your building. Okay. According to Jiva Goswami, if you don't respect that janitor in your building, whatever you did today in your worship of the deity, not my word. What word did he use? Useless. Whoa. That's pretty heavy, isn't it? In other words, we get all dressed up, right? Even the men sometimes, we're not so good at it. But the ladies, get all dressed up, go to the temple. At least the men, maybe we cut our hair once in a while, look a little better, whatever. Try to button our shirts, look a little, okay. Come to see the deities, we say some prayers, we chant the artik, we try to do some nice service. And that's wonderful spiritual progress. And then we walk out the door and we don't respect the bus driver, or we don't respect the little old lady walking across the street, or we honk our horn at the guy who we think should have stopped instead of letting us out in the street, or we go to work tomorrow morning, Monday morning, and the janitor says good morning. We just walk right by them because they're a janitor and I'm a middle manager. He ought to know his position, or whatever. Or he doesn't say hi, but forgetting that we're the servants of Krishna and all living entities, we don't go out of our way to say good morning, Mr. Brown, how are you today? Etc. If we don't do those things, according to Jiva Goswami, our worship of the deity is useless. Pretty heavy instruction, isn't it? Okay, now there's more. You ready? There's more. That's Jiva Goswami. Now let's hear from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. There are 3 kinds of devotees of the Lord, and the neophyte is in the lowest stage. Okay? Here's a description of a neophyte. A neophyte devotee gives more attention, so that first we just read about other living entities, right? If you don't respect other living entities, your deity worship is useless. Okay? Now we're going to hear about devotees. Okay? The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. It's kind of like, wait a minute, I thought advanced devotees gave more attention to deities. Isn't it? Isn't that what it means? You know, you start realizing how important the deity is. It's not just marble or wood or like the deity. That's God up there after all. But that's a neophyte. Okay? The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur warns that this sort of mentality should be corrected. Not just like mentions we should do better or suggests we change our thought or advises us. Warns. It's like, you know, like you go in a building, there's like a sign that says, warning, fire exit, right? Or like warning, third, right? You trains all around it, right? Warning, third rail, isn't it? Don't get close. Warning, okay? So it warns us our mentality should be changed. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, every body is the embodiment or the temple of the Lord. So as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, one should similarly properly respect each and every body. That means everyone. Each and every body in which the Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected. Right? So, one of the many things that we should look at ourselves and see how are we doing in terms of our spiritual progress. Are we sometimes neglectful of other living beings? And we know we live in the age of Kali, right? This is the age of love and trust, right? Isn't it? You just see it manifested everywhere. I mean, I live in Washington, D.C. Believe me, they all, inside the Beltway, they love each other. And trust, oh my goodness. Everything they say, everything that's published, we all know it's true because we believe each other, right? So what a mess the world is in. It's age of Kali, age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And we're surrounded by so much quarrel, even at little tiny things people quarrel. Isn't it? So what's our role? Prabhupada crossed the ocean and dealt with a lot of crazy stuff. Prabhupada had no place to stay. He moved in a loft, thank you. He moved in with a loft with a young man who was psychologically unstable. That's a very disturbed and quarrelsome mind, because that's all he had. That's the only shelter that was there. But in that circumstance, he was trying to spread Krishna consciousness. I just recently reread Mukunda Maharaj's book, Miracle on 2nd Avenue, and one story that he mentions that I had not remembered was beautiful. I felt he was in San Francisco in the middle of this crazy 1968, I think, the whole upsurge of the hippie movement, and they were right near Haight-Ashbury, which is the center of it. And they were walking, Mukunda, who was then Prabhu, and Prabhupada, to some place that was like where they, sold hippie stuff, because Prabhupada was going to do a program. And when he got there, was just another weird scene with just a few people, half aware and half unaware. But the point of the story that struck me was they're walking down the street, And if you've seen pictures of that era, it's pretty wild times. And now, we're all 50 years later and, either born in or lived in America for a long time, and you hear about that era, and it's like, okay, it still looks strange. Prabhupada had just come from Vrindavan. He's 70 years old. It's a rather shocking environment. So Mukunda describes it. They're walking on the street, and there's just like hippies with feathers and weird things, and sitting on the street and taking intoxicants and playing their musical instruments, and boys and girls embracing on the side of the street, and the smell of marijuana and everything in the air. And it's just like, what a crazy, most of us would say, degraded scene. And Mukunda Maharaj explains, he says, I felt really uncomfortable. So I thought, what do I say to Swamiji at that time? So he said, if I remember correctly, he said something like, I thought I'd like distract him. So he said to him, he said, Swamiji, isn't it a beautiful evening? Thinking maybe he'll look up at the stars or something, like it's so embarrassed. He's like embarrassed at this place. And he said, Prabhupada, he looked around. He looked around at the whole scene for a moment. He said he took it all in. And he said, yes, everything is beautiful. He's a pure devotee. He's seen these people involved in these like terribly degraded and downward pulling activities, and yet he's seen these are parts and parcels of Krishna. They're expressing their desire to get out of just the static communities that they lived in. They're looking for freedom. They're looking for something spiritual. They're completely confused, but they're looking for something spiritual. Probably just seeing the hand of Krishna in that, seeing the hand of the Lord. So a neophyte devotee sees the deity in the temple and goes outside and doesn't even so much value other devotees, as it's described here. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur warns us we should change that mentality. And a neophyte devotee goes outside and doesn't respect others. So in a world where people are not respecting each other, it's very polarized. I read a survey the other day. It says something like 30% of both political parties not just don't agree with the other side, they actually think they're bad for the country. It's like, they should just pack up all of you Republicans or Democrats and just send you some other place. Not just like, I remember movies as a kid, I'd like to respectfully disagree with my colleague from the state of Oklahoma. It's not like that right now. It's nasty. It's not everywhere. There's a lot of wonderfully good people, and a lot of good people are trying. But the point is, we, as Vaishnavas, as servants of Krishna, as followers of Prabhupada and our acharyas, we're meant to develop a different mentality. We're meant to actually be, Jesus had a nice expression. He told his disciples, you should be the salt of the earth. Isn't that nice? You should bring the right flavor to human society. So in a similar way as Vaishnavas, we're actually meant to come, chant, associate, honor prasadam, hear the philosophy, all of those things, and get purified, and have our consciousness get a little uplifted, and have our vision a little purified, and then spend the rest of the week trying to live like that. Trying to learn how to treat other people with respect, and making sure that we honor especially Vaishnavas. And if we do that, then we're actually assisting Prabhupada in his mission of systematically propagating spiritual knowledge, because we're not just talking about it, we're living it. And if we talk about it, we don't live it, we all know a lot of those people, isn't it? What's that called? The age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Say one thing, do something else, isn't it? Like sometimes we know we meet so-called religious people, they're so intent on trying to convert you or tell you you're wrong. They're mean. They're downright mean-spirited. And, and you kind of think if you're going to that place, as sometimes people say, you going to heaven? I think, I'm not sure, but if people like you were there, I'd rather go somewhere else. We don't want people thinking that about Vaishnavas. We want people to think in your office, people should think, why is it when there's so much petty backbiting, but you don't seem to get disturbed by it? Is that because of that weird food you bring in that plastic container every day? They should be asking themselves those kind of questions. Why is it when things go wrong, you don't get angry with other people? More or less. I mean, we're not perfect. We know that. But, compared to other people, we should really, by our spiritual practice, we should be manifesting some of these qualities. And as it's described, we should measure ourselves and see how we're doing. And when we're not doing so well, we don't get disturbed, we don't get depressed, we don't get upset, we don't get overly harsh about ourselves. Because we know we're trying to love Krishna. Well, aren't we parts and parcels of Krishna? So we also, psychologists talk about this. We have to love ourselves too. Again, like there's the expression, hate the sin, not the sinner. So we have some dark sides, so we don't like those. We're trying to purify ourselves. But we should love ourselves, knowing that I'm part and parcel of Krishna. I'm pure. I'm pure being, but I have these covering. So let me measure how I'm doing, making progress to get over that. And how we help other people, as is described here. The way we associate with devotees and the way we try to show respect and compassion in other people. And if we do that, then more and more people in the office, people in our neighbors, our families, they'll all say, there seems to be something that makes you a little more joyful. And there seems to be something that allows you to tolerate the world a little better. What is that secret? Right? Can you share that secret with me? And that's when we say, yeah, but you have to come with me on Sunday. We can say, yeah, do you have 15 minutes? You ever heard of a mantra? I'll teach a mantra, etc. All the different things we can share. Or, hey, why don't you take a look at this book? Or, here, eat some homemade cookies. This is the secret ingredient. Whatever it is. But that's actually the most attractive way. When Prabhupada first came, he didn't even have any books. He had the Bhagavatam, right? He had the first 3 volumes, a few sets. Bhagavad Gita wasn't available, right? It was published later. So he didn't have a whole lot of books, but Prabhupada was there. So that by the personal contact, he changed people's lives. And we're all his followers. We're Prabhupada Nugas. So we're meant to carry that same message. And of course, we can never compare. Prabhupada's our founder Acharya. And at the same time, it's Prabhupada's desire to empower each of us to make a difference where we can in the world around us. And if we do, as is predicted, the world can change, and it needs our help. Not that we're proud. We start thinking, we know God, nobody else knows anything else. No, but we should develop our vision to see how Krishna is working in everybody's lives in different ways, and to help people fan that spark. And then we actually can become, as it's described, not neophyte devotees, but we won't just see Krishna in the temple, but we'll be so grateful that he's appeared here in the temple, and we'll be inspired to help see him outside too, more and more. So I can stop. There's a few minutes if there's any comments or questions or clarifications or anything at all. And if you don't ask any questions, we just sit here for a long time. So we'll just... That's nice. You have a microphone. There's a hand up here.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for being here, Prabhu.
Hi, Krishna. Nice to see you again.
Class. If someone from another religious tradition shares with you their experience of connecting with the divine, and they may also share what kind of service they offer to divinity, either in their hearts or in the church itself. But they're from a tradition other than our own. Is this service that they're offering bhakti?
Their service or the fact that they're talking to you about it?
Both.
Is it bhakti? You mean, like, should we measure that and see if it's karma or jnana or something else to see if they measure up? I don't think that's what you're saying. I think what you're trying to say, is there any authenticity or legitimacy or value to what they're doing? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I've heard devotees say over the years that if you're not worshiping Krishna directly or coming to an ISKCON temple, the kind of service that you're offering to God is not bhakti. It's something else, but
My
it's
response
not
would be, you're not reading Prabhupada's books very carefully.
Thank you.
Prabhupada says many, many times, I mean, so many quotes. Prabhupada says it's time for the Hindus and the Muslims and the Christians to come together and address the godlessness in the world. You know, Prabhupada, when Prabhupada spoke with some Christian monks, I think they were Jesuits in Australia, and they asked Prabhupada, they said, what is your opinion of Jesus? He said, he is our guru. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, beautiful prayer, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, can't remember the book it's in, I have to check, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, paraphrasing, when we find ourselves at a place of worship and a tradition other than our own, we should stay there in a respectful frame of mind. We should think, my Lord is being worshipped here in a form that I'm not used to, but I understand His presence. And my attachment for my Lord should increase, seeing how He's being worshipped here in a way that I do not completely understand. My own attachment to Krishna should increase, seeing how He's being worshipped in other places. Sometimes that's a little hard because, you know, when we're first experiencing the reality of Krishna consciousness and the deities and the process, and we get really excited about it because it's a wonderful thing. Wow, there's more to life than just going to work and paying bills and growing old and dying. It's fantastic, and I found it here, so everybody else has to find it here. And, you know, some of our friends from other religious traditions, they have a similar view. You know, my way is the only way. But that's not the Vaishnava teaching. Just real quick reference, Bhagavad Gita 4:6 or 7. Let's see. Give me just a second here. Here it is. 4:7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhaviti bharata abhutanam dharmasya tadatmanam shijam yaham. Whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Purport. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. It's Prabhupada's commentary. He can manifest Himself anywhere and everywhere and whenever He desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, He speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same. The mission is the same. To lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes He descends personally, and sometimes He sends His bona fide representative in the form of His Son. That's an interesting choice of words. Or His servant. That's also another interesting choice of words. When you look at the three major religious traditions in the world, Son plays a major role, servant plays a major role, or Himself in some disguised form. That sounds like us. Isn't it? The principles of Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and for that matter to other highly elevated persons, because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons. 2 + 2 = 4 is a mathematical principle that is true in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. So there may be some variation in teaching. You know, you go someplace and they bow down in a certain way and they face Mecca. You go in another place and they bow down and they kneel. And you go in another place and they offer pranams. So sometimes if we're not so thoughtful, we may think, well, wait a minute, you're bowing down differently than I am. That's bogus. You have to bow down like this, in a very prideful way, which is very strange, because what's the purpose of bowing down? To give up my pride, isn't it? So if I become more proud, thinking the way I bow down is more significant than yours, I kind of miss the message. Yeah. Jai Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar. So, we should do more research and see what Prabhupada wrote about that. I mean, there are verses. I mean, look, it's interesting. Look in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada says, let there be one mantra, one Lord, one something else, he says. Now, if you read that, you think, oh, we've got it. This is it. Okay? Because he says that. But then the 4th chapter, he says, hey, Krishna appears in so many places. Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes so many comments. Prabhupada glorifies, Prabhupada says many places that Jesus is a Vaishnava. So what does that mean, Jesus is a Vaishnava? Well, shouldn't we respect Vaishnavas? Etc. Is that okay? Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have time for one more, Madhupati Prabhu, or should we stop? It's okay? I'm not controlling the microphone. You send it wherever. There was a lady here had a hand up, and then a devotee here.
I just wanted to ask, you said Prabhupada gave list against which we should measure ourselves.
Krishna gave him Bhagavad Gita, like humility, tolerance, okay. So many different qualities
Culture
are given.
of Vidyavars, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's good, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, not that we look at it and get upset. 2 things. We should not, because it's interesting. Sometimes you read, Prabhupada says, devotees of the Lord have all of these qualities. And then we think, oh, I'm a devotee of the Lord. I didn't realize I had all of those qualities. I'm a much more important person than I thought. That's not the right way to think about it. It should be that pure devotee. So let's try to come to that level. And the other way sometimes we look at it is devotees of the Lord have these qualities. I don't have these qualities. I don't think I can ever have these qualities. How can I ever make progress? That's just Maya's trick too. We're very humble, but Krishna can help us. We develop these things by Krishna's grace, but we also have to try. Okay? Good question here?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Bol, Prabhu.
Thank you for a wonderful class. I have a question that I always been engaged and attracted and attached to the Sankirtan service. But recently I was reading Nectar of Devotion when Srila Prabhupada says that when you worship the deity directly, there are 2 side effects. One is the unwanted habits, you just, it goes away. And also the attachment to the relationship and friends and love, it just goes down. So I was just thinking that, does
material
it mean that,
love.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was just thinking that if that is by doing deity worship, that is the advantage we get. So we should always engage in deity worship also. So if you can kindly comment and a little bit enlighten.
No, certainly deity worship is an essential process in our Vaishnava culture. When Prabhupada says you must respect other living entities and you must, pay more attention to devotees, he's not saying, oh my gosh, we misunderstood. Don't take care of the deities. Please, don't anybody think that's what I just said. Madhupati Prabhu will never let me come back again, and Pritu Prabhu is going to report me to the GBC, and I'm in big trouble. Kratu Prabhu is going to call the North American leadership tomorrow and have me expelled. I'm in big, big trouble. So no, but so the deity, we take care of the deities, but it's reminded us how much important the devotees. So deity worship is very, very important for us. Very, very important part of our practice. We should always be praying to the deity, taking shelter to the deity, become attracted to the deity. Since you brought it up, I'll mention one thing too. We should be careful we don't misunderstand that, which says, and thus we become free from material love. We should purify love that's self-centered to be selfless. Sometimes, we say for instance, Medivisa Grahastas. So sometimes we may read something like, okay, so I'm supposed to purify my material love. So my progress means I'm supposed to become detached from taking care of my family. And if I'm becoming detached from taking care of my family, then I'm making spiritual advancement. That's not necessarily at all the case. The case is we should be transforming. My desire to care for my family is out of desire for their benefit, not for my own benefit. Right? I mean, sometimes there's a sense like I want to have a beautiful wife so I can show her off to all my friends. Right? Or I want my husband to make a lot of money because I'm going to show my former girlfriend in high school that I did better than she did. Okay, that's the kind of so-called love we want to give up. There's a beautiful quote, I don't have it, I just came across it recently, where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is talking about Grihastha life. And he says, generally, spiritual master does not encourage their disciples to get married because they have such a difficulty of actually practicing selfless love. And he says, but the actual purpose of Grihastha life, he says, you should not get married unless you realize that your spouse is more advanced than you are. And he specifically says, if you're a husband and you think your wife is meant to serve you, you're an illusion. And if you're a wife and you think your husband is meant to serve you, you're an illusion. That actually you're supposed to serve your spouse. Male or female, husband, wife, doesn't matter. The Grihastha should think my duty, and again, sometimes male ego gets in the way, but our duty is to serve our spouse. Now, what does it mean serving our spouse? It means ultimately helping them make progress in spiritual life. That's the best service we can render. And at the same time, you know, the body is there, the mind is there, the emotions there, the intellect's there, so it's like a package. We can't ignore the package. We can't ignore, like, you know, the car, but don't forget the driver of the car. That's the main message, but don't ignore the rest of the car too. It's a really beautiful quote. Have you seen that before? It was published in The Harmonist. It's beautiful. It's like, oh my gosh, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that? It's very powerful. I'll try to find it and send it to you. Okay? Okay? Anybody else? Are we done? Okay. We're done for the night. Go, please, show respect to the doorman, to the bus driver, to the janitor at work, and walk by and give him a big smile. Say, how are you this morning? Hare Krishna. Okay, and just see how many smiles you can evoke on your way to the office. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
So let's thank His Grace Anuttama Prabhu with a loud Haribol! 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 Some few announcements. Coming Friday, June 28th is Ekadasi.